What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of the BMR NBA show. My name is Junior Browne. I'm joined as always by my guy, Jordan Sharp. A hectic weekend for me personally, so I didn't really watch too many games. I was going to tell you, Jordan, that my girl's going to be hating me because, I got League Pass, I got NFL Sunday Ticket. I even have Premier League on demand, so I am that crazy person that's going to go back, watch all the games that I missed this weekend. So I'm going to be in my cave studying, getting back up to date. How was your weekend, though? Any picks, anything stand out to you? What do you got to report, Jay?
Yeah, real quick. You got a lot to catch up on between soccer Saturday and football Sunday. Well, football Saturday and football Saturday and football Sunday, I should say. So yeah, you'll be in the basement grinding those for a little while. But no, tons like 13 NBA games on Saturday too, and then another 5 yesterday. There was a ton of sports over the weekend. I kind of did something similar. You guys know me. Saturdays for the family. Sunday is for the grind during NFL season. So I did have a couple picks yesterday. Went 1-1 on those for the afternoon game. Cashed another first half total on the under, man. We'll talk a little bit about these unders here in a little bit. It's been the talk of NBA here over the first, or at least the last week or so. Definitely the last 2 or 3 days that scoring is just way down. But cashed first half under in that Sacramento-Dallas game. Faded the Mavs once again, though, in the first half of that one, not in the full game. They barely cashed that full game line. But first half-wise, they got like a 15-point lead against the Kings in the first quarter. That pretty much did Sacramento in, even though they came back and made that close. It made me sweat it a little bit. Thought I was going to cash it with the Kings. But Mavs still got problems despite the fact they won and covered yesterday. And went 1-1 on Friday also. Missed out on the Cavaliers, unfortunately, on Friday night, but cashed first half under as well on Friday night as well. What was that game? That was the Mavs and Nuggets on that one. Then, of course, 2-1 on Friday. We got the Nuggets big time on Friday. That one was great. Wrote that one up for BMR, and that one is an easy win. I think they won by 24, 25 points in that game. So pretty good weekend. Let's see, total of 4-2 over the weekend for me. So not bad at all. Cannot complain. Got another 3 lined up for you today.
Yeah, like I said, I'm the type of person I have to watch games before I can form my full opinion. I mean, I could just go on NBA.com and look at the advanced metrics, and I still have an idea of what happened in every game. So it's not like I'm completely out of the loop. So I guess I'll just touch on the surprise teams for me right now. Let's start with the Bucks. Yeah, they got injury problems, but like horrible. Like they legitimately look terrible right now. It's not Giannis's fault. But there's only so much he can do without Middleton, without Drew, without some of these key guys. Really, you're asking him to do a lot. They cannot score points, but again, is that really that surprising with 60% of your starting lineup out right now? So that's a story to watch because there's always the NBA Finals or just the Finals hangover in every sport. And that can come back to bite them come playoff time because they're supposed to be jockeying for position. And instead of taking advantage of Brooklyn's slow start, they're kind of just, right there with them. So that's been surprising to me. The Wizards keep winning basketball games. That's been pretty surprising to me, too. I'm going to have to really, really go back and look at what they're doing and recalibrate who I think they are because I haven't been showing them enough respect. I haven't been fading them either. Because I kind of don't know what they are, but the buy low price might be they actually might be too expensive now, and might have to wait for them to lose a couple before I could even get involved in some Wizards action. So that's been pretty interesting to me. They've got a pretty interesting game against Atlanta, but that's enough of the recap. Let's get into today's slate so we can help you guys cash some tickets, fellas. Whenever you're ready, let's get it rolling. And Jordan, I'll let you get started this week. What you got on this first game? Did I lose you, Jordan?
My bad. I'm sorry. I had my microphone off. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a couple of games to talk to before we get to those that Hawks and Wizards game. That's actually going to be a great game to talk about. But yeah, Spurs and Pacers here. Pacers fans, oh boy. What are we going to do? The ugly trends we're starting to see from some of these teams from carryover from last year are starting to carry over to this year, and defensive rebounding for the Indiana Pacers have always been their Achilles heel, giving up over 109 points per 100 possessions. It's not going to get it done. I think it ranks 23rd, 24th in the NBA so far. The defensive rebounding has been bad. I think they rank down near the bottom third, bottom 10 in the league. Yeah, in defensive rebounding almost, or at least flirting with it. It's not going to get it done against the Spurs team tonight, who, as we've talked about, every time we talk about the Spurs, they're playing hard. They play to win. They play good defense. They have a deep group of wing players that are going to give the Indiana Pacers trouble. And on top of that, the Pacers are still dealing with every last bit of injuries that they've been dealing with here to start the season. You're not going to have Jeremy Lamb tonight. Potentially not going to have Malcolm Brogdon again. He's questionable. Karis LeVert questionable. Right now, I mean, I think I have to fade the Pacers if you made me make a play on this one. I don't have a play on this game currently. I'd like to kind of see how the injury news shapes up, but it's right back to the well for this Indiana team. I don't know what it's going to take, because you thought at least Rick Carlisle was going to help this team defensively, and I think their injuries, speak for themselves. That has been part of the issue here to start the season, but you can't trust them. And they're bearing themselves a huge hole right now that I don't know if they're going to be able to dig themselves out of by the time they get fully healthy and TJ Warren comes back, which we still don't know when that's going to happen. It's trouble, man. You got to get on the boards. I don't understand how you can start Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner at the same time and not be able to rebound. But here we are once again. It's deja vu. It's over and over and over again. I remember it. I can't remember which podcast it was, but I think it was setting the pace here around here in Indiana for the Pacers fans. The front office just basically said it like, hey, we're content with being a tough out. And I think fans are kind of tired of that around here, to be honest. And you're kind of seeing the air that it showed with Saturday's attendance is really down here, right? Usually Saturday nights in Indianapolis is a basketball night. Now, granted, it's probably one of the bigger partying nights of the year as well, with Halloween being the next night and it being Sunday and everything. So take that for what it's worth. But, man, these Pacers are in trouble on multiple fronts, and I can't trust them, man. Lean Spurs here. You know me. I'm always ready to take points with a team like the Spurs here, who are, 2.5-point underdogs here on the road, and they probably should be like a pick 'em, maybe even favored right now. Can't trust the Pacers, long story short.
Yeah, listen, I threw it to you because I wanted to get your thoughts on the hometown team. 1-6 under Rick Carlisle is absolutely not where I thought they would be, if I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm actually shocked to see how much they struggle. They've got a few different issues that it seems like they can sort them out. I don't think their obstacles are too much to overcome. But there's only so much of a hole you can dig for yourself before you can't climb out of it. First of all, let's start with the fact that they can't seem to defend without fouling.
Yeah.
They're giving up a ton of free throws. Now, luckily for them in this game, the San Antonio Spurs are one of the worst teams at generating fouls. They don't, in terms of free throw rate, they're second to last in the league. So that shouldn't be a problem here. I kind of like the Pacers in this matchup, but I can't possibly trust them. My lean is really to the under 217. The only issue, again, I see with that is San Antonio is not your dad's San Antonio, for lack of a better word. This is a different Spurs team that plays at a different pace than the Spurs that we've become used to. And they're fifth in the league right now in terms of pace. So I think that the Pacers, who are 12th in pace, could be lulled into playing that style of basketball, depending on how this game goes. So I say all of that to say I don't see a definite edge in this game. My lean is towards the under, but it seems like such a square play that I'm not pulling the trigger until I have an opportunity to do a little bit more research. So with that said, Jordan, why don't you lead us into the next game?
Yeah, we were all set to talk about this one, and I was kind of thinking about laying the points with the 76ers here with the Blazers as we move on to this next one here. And then, of course, a minute before we go on the show, Joel Embiid gets ruled out for rest tonight, and that line has just since plummeted. I think it's down to like 1.5, 2 at some books. Yeah, 1.5. I'm seeing basically 1.5s across the board. Can I tell you something? And I'm being completely honest here. Is Philly more of a value now? Like I don't want to completely disrespect the Portland Trailblazers, but we have went so long on them ad nauseum about how much we have just are so like out on the Portland Trailblazers. Coming off a back-to-back, you see how poor their defense looked yesterday against the Hornets. Even without Joel Embiid, I mean, that's exactly what the Sixers are thinking. They're probably like, we can beat these guys by 2, 3, 4 possessions, even without our big fella tonight. Like, I mean, I know you kind of feel the same way, but like, am I crazy, or am I kind of like leaning towards what might be now actually a sharp pick with the Sixers now only laying 1 possession worth of points? I don't know. I don't want to like completely disrespect the Blazers because I have a lot of respect for their star players, but you know me, man. I'm way out on Portland. I think they got to go through a mini tank this year and just kind of like get over it. Sell off McCollum for anything you can get for him if you want to keep Dame and keep building around him if he's loyal, or do the opposite of that and sell him off and get him to a contender so we can at least enjoy the kind of last half of his career on somebody who actually has a chance to win a championship, because the rest of that squad's going to be gone in a year or two anyways. Like they got to rebuild regardless. It might as well start now while you can get some assets out of the guys you have signed up long term. I don't know. I know that would probably be like just a deafening blow to Portland fan base's like morale, but it may have to be done. You may just have to bite the bullet on that, Portland. And tonight may be a grand example of that, because you can't beat the Sixers without Joel Embiid. You got problems, to say the least.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to be short. I'm taking the Sixers -1.5.
Yeah.
The reason I'm taking the Sixers -1.5, depending on where you get your metrics from, on NBA.com, I think they're ranked number 1 in offensive efficiency, and some other sites I see them at number 2. Either those sites are a little bit off depending on where you look. But here's the point I'm trying to make: Joel Embiid is not playing well. He is so far from where he was last year in terms of being at the peak of his powers, where he was dominant and efficient offensively. Mm-hmm. He was dominant on the boards. He just couldn't be stopped. He is not that right now. He's not playing badly at all. I mean, he's averaging like 20 a game with 21 a game and like 8 or 9 rebounds. Joel Embiid at his best is closer to like 25 and 13. Okay, and he's only shooting 43%. I'm gonna sound like an old man right now. You can't be 7 feet tall shooting 43% from the field. You can't really be 7 feet tall shooting less than 50%. It's kind of ridiculous. You've got to be closer to the 50% end of the spectrum, especially when you're as talented as Joel Embiid. And usually this is where I would go on a rant about he shoots too many threes, but he's shooting like 35%. He's shooting like 35% from 3 on less than 4 attempts. So it's still probably too many. But that's not the reason he's shooting badly. He's just not 100% ready yet. He's not. This has been the story of his entire career. He's in shape only usually for part of the season. He's never in shape for an entire season. I don't know what the deal is with him, because he's always posting videos of himself running and working out, but he's just usually not in shape. So until he shows his best, the ceiling for Philly, we don't even know what it is, but so far so good, right? Because if you're telling me that Joel Embiid is not playing near his best, but they're still the most efficient offense in the league, that tells me that these guys tonight look at the Joel Embiid situation out and they're like, we're gonna get a lot of shots. We don't have that weight of, because if Joel Embiid doesn't touch the ball for too many possessions, you see it in his whole demeanor. He's like, you know what? I'm out. I ain't running back on defense. I'm not setting screens. I'm just going to stand here in the corner and not even try to get offensive rebound. I'm just going to look at you, take your shot, and run back. You've got to constantly feed him to keep him engaged. Without that weight, don't think that I'm insane. I'm not saying this makes them better, not even close, but it'll make them play freer. And I think that a lot of these guys, with the confidence they already have, on top of the fact that I don't believe in Portland at all, I feel like I'm taking the 76ers at a cheap price at home. I think Philly has a couple of different guys that Damian Lillard and TJ McCollum are not going to enjoy playing against.
No, Maxi's going to put him in clamps tonight. Like, it's going to be very hard for him to score.
And Thybulle's going to put somebody in clamps too. So the 76ers are the real deal, and their defense isn't even playing as well as it can. So I think I've made my case as to why I'm taking Philly. Give me the 76ers on this show, number -1.5. I love it. And I love that you love it too. It makes me feel a lot better about it. Why don't you take us into the next game?
Game of the night, baby. Who would have thunk it? Wizards and Hawks. Cannot believe I'm saying it, but good Lord, the Wizards can play some defense. And I think they're getting Dan Gafford tonight, too, which is going to even help my play tonight. But just allow me to say that I love the under here. One of my favorite plays of the night. I have no idea why it skied up to 223.5, but as you can see, it is starting to kind of tick back down very, very slowly. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, Wes Unseld Jr. is if there was a rookie, a coach rookie of the year award, he would have already won it. They should have already just basically given it to him for the first 2 weeks of the season. In fact, you turned basically a kind of a thrown together, somewhat mismatched Wizards roster and has turned it into a top 5 defense so far to start the season, and like a legit top 5 defense. Like, they look good defensively, and I don't know what it is. I just don't know if it's like you say all the time, like these guys are playing for contracts eventually. They want to prove like what kind of player they are in a situation where that's probably not the greatest for them in the postseason, why to earn that postseason money. But I mean, like their roster is young, they have nothing to lose, and they have athletes. All three of those things combined have made them a really good defensive team. And you're talking about a Hawks team who's also been very good defensively, who we talked about ad nauseum the last time we talked about them, how good they've been defensively here. How is this 223.5 points? You especially look at the Wizards of how they've played on the road as opposed to at home. They're not only allowing less than 100 points per 100 possessions on the road, they're scoring less than 100 points per 100 possessions on the road. I know it's early. I know that that's a very, very, very small sample size. But this is something that could continue for this team. Like I said, a young team. It doesn't have a lot to lose, but on the road, you could tell which teams are young and which teams don't have a lot of experience playing together with one another, because their offense is going to look pretty bad too. And I think against this Hawks defense, especially now that these two have played one another, and the Hawks are kind of looking at this game like we let one go the last time, or it was like 3-4 nights ago that we played, and now we're at home. We're going to shut you guys down. I think this game, I think easily one of these teams has fallen below 105. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams are easily under 110 either. I'm just like, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. I think I got this total probably, let's see, 223.5. I think I have it handicapped at a total of about 217, 218, something like that. So I think you're getting a lot of good value here. Would not be surprised to see this go back down just close to where it opened. Give me the under here. I expect both teams to be engaged tonight defensively.
I'm on the under, 223.5. I absolutely love it. If you watch the first game between these two, there were 2 quarters in the game where there was 65 points and like 67 points. Mm-hmm. But the other 2 quarters were 54 and 47. And I think that those, especially that 47, that was the fourth quarter score. And that's when the Hawks were trying to make a little bit of a push. They were already down pretty big anyways. They won that quarter and still lost the game by double digits. I do like the revenge factor for Atlanta. I wouldn't lay this many points, though. I would still take the points with the Wizards. I just need it to be 6 or 6.5 before I could take the Wizards. 5.5 is not enough for me. But I do think that here's the interesting thing about the Wizards. You would think once Daniel Gafford goes down, to go along with Thomas Bryant being out.
Yeah.
And, they lost some length with not lost, but they're missing length with Hachimura. But it really hasn't mattered at all. And I think the number one thing that's helped them be a good defensive team is that they're third in the league in 3-point field goal percentage defense. They're second in the league in 3-point field goals just allowed, like in terms of attempts. And they're number 1 in 3-point field goals against. They only allow teams to make 8 threes a game. Now, that's super important because on the flip side, they're not making a lot of threes. They're only making just under 11 a game. So they really they either need to maintain that defensive intensity from 3 or start picking up their own 3-point numbers. I'm not really sure where the shooting has come from other than Davis Bertans, who's been pretty cold to start the season. They don't really have any. Again, I'm kind of disrespecting the roster because I'm not looking at the roster. I'm just saying that. But when I watch them play, who are you afraid of leaving open? Like, I guess Contavious Caldwell-Pope probably. Because he's been playing pretty well.
Yep.
But other than that, they don't really have actual shooters. Spencer Dinwiddie has looked pretty good. He's been making a lot of his shots. But I think that in this specific game, especially because you mentioned the first game where The Wizards kind of put it on the Hawks. Like the Hawks were never
They weren't ready.
They just were not ready for that.
They
were not really in that game like at all. I think the Hawks bring out a much better effort. I mentioned the last time that I was on the Hawks that their defense is miles better than it was last year. They've fallen off somewhat since I said that, but again, because of the small sample size that we have to work with, the variance is so huge from one game to another. You have one bad game, you can plummet like 4 places in the rankings, right? So I think that the Hawks defense comes to play today. The Wizards defense has come to play the entire season, so that's not a problem. 223.5 is a big number. I mean, especially with the scores that we're seeing in the NBA so far in this early season. I don't know if it's the way the games are being called. I don't know if it's rust. I don't know what it is so far. But 223.5 seems like a big number. I will take the under in this spot. What you got next for us, Shore?
Before we get into this next game, I kind of get the same feeling about watching the Wizards as I kind of do about the Kings, which I watched yesterday afternoon. Like the Kings defensively have been pretty good this year. The problem is they just don't have any interior defense. But man, that 3-4 guys that you got to get past, like Halliburton. I'm sorry, I don't want to go ad nauseum on the Kings here because we have a lot to talk about here. But like Halliburton, Fox, Davion Mitchell, Harry Barnes, like these are good defenders. Wizards kind of don't have that much kind of perimeter defensive upside, but they have some similar things going on to where, and they have more interior defense than the Kings do. So yeah, I mean, I think that that's for real with the Kings defensively. I'm not, or sorry, with the Wizards. I think that they're, they got the potential to stay kind of in that top half defensively most of the year, especially the coaching that has been very good so far for them this season. Of all the rookie head coaches, Wes Unseld Jr. is definitely impressed me. Let's move on real quick. I know we're running out of time. I joked that Wizards Hawks was the game of the night. This is probably really the game of the night. Let's be honest. It's the Bulls and the Celtics. You got old-time rivals, but got a lot of problems with both these teams. Bulls defenses look great. Loss of Patrick Williams is going to hurt. I think long-term it's definitely going to hurt, especially in this game because they're going to be undersized trying to stop Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in this game. They got the horses to do it. And I think that's probably where I'm leaning here towards this. Sorry, this is where my pick is on this game as well because I have another official with this one. But I grabbed this one at 217.5 on the under. It has dropped a couple points now since then to 215.5. But this is the main reason. Well, I think this pace is just like absolute grinded out. I think the Bulls are going to at least attempt. Don't know if they're going to be successful, but I think they're going to attempt to grind this game to a halt and force Boston to avoid getting out on the breaks. I think Boston's going to want to push this a little bit more than the Bulls are, get out in front. Because the Bulls offensively right now, as we've seen, they're getting better. They're starting to look really good. Their game against Utah was extremely impressive, more so on the defensive end. But they're starting to kind of put things together offensively. The problem is they don't have a whole lot of bench scoring, and neither does Boston here either. And that's kind of where I think this game's going to get bogged down on the under here, especially. I'd be very hard pressed to see these second units scoring a ton. And I think that's one of the reasons why this total is just a little bit too high. Combine the fact that I think there's probably going to be less than 100 possessions in this game if the Bulls play their way. So you got all that considered. They match up pretty well with one another too. As long as the Bulls just aren't giving up like they've been. If you've watched the Bulls, I've watched them I think 3 times so far this year. They just give up a ton of open looks because of defensive breakdowns. And I think a lot of that just has to do with not playing together too much and kind of figuring out the new-ish scheme for a lot of these players. But it's going to come around. If it's not like if it hasn't peaked just yet, and then they're already allowing less than 100 points per 100 possessions, I think this Bulls defense has top 3 potential easily this year. So I you know me, I'm not a big Boston fan. I think they're kind of middle of the pack again this year. And defensively, I think they're definitely better than they are offensively. So as long as the Bulls can slow down either Tatum or Brown, I think this total goes under pretty easily. It's one of those things where we've been seeing the scoring down. I think that it's getting overplayed a little bit. So I think that we're going to start to see the books overcorrect just a little bit for this. And I think you've seen that with some of the steam that we've seen from totals here over the last 2 or 3 days. But this matchup in particular against 2 teams that aspire to be in the playoffs. And potentially could come down to a tiebreaker between the 2 of them at the end of the year. I think that's definitely within the realm of possibility. They probably both look at this game as pretty important, especially if they're the Chicago Bulls. And so I think that we see the under here cashing this one. I got it at 217.5. I still like it at 215 though. Not as much obviously, but I still like it.
Yeah, I'll be quick here. I don't have a play on this game, so I don't have too much to say. I do disagree with something you said, but I think that your eyes are fooling you because I don't mean that disrespectfully. I think your eyes are fooling you because you're used to seeing something and you're not seeing it. You mentioned that Boston's defense is better than their offense. It really isn't. But the reason that it seems that way is because I know you watch games like I do. And when you watch the Celtics, this is what you're watching. Yo, Jaylen Brown, it's your turn.
Yeah,
all right.
right.
Jason Tatum, all right, you had your turn. Now it's my turn. Your turn, my turn. And everybody else is just kind of there. They got to figure that out. Their offense sucks. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Their offense sucks. And I say that because we became used to these Brad Stevens sets where they would just get wide open shots. And it was like a more, you knew who the head honchos were. You knew who the guys that had to be fed were. But it was still a more of a by committee approach than this thing where Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum average 45 shots a game combined. Like, Jason Tatum takes 25 shots a game. Again, he's one of the best offensive players in the league, so he can do that. He's not really making shots, though. He's shooting 27% from three on 9 threes a game. Like, and again, to me, it's not that he is not a good offensive player. Clearly, we know that that's not the case. But everything is one-on-one. Everything is clear out and let me go. Everything is, for him, he's so much settling. Like, you're really telling me that your size, you got to take 9 threes a game, especially when you're not making shots. I hate everything about the Celtics offense, honestly. And then when you flip it to their defense, I mentioned the Pacers can't defend without fouling. Well, neither can the Celtics. The Celtics are actually the worst team in the NBA at defensive free throw rate. At points per game, I'm pretty sure they're near the bottom of the league. They give up 118 points per game, which is the worst in the NBA. And this is a team whose identity was built on solid defense and smart offense. I don't see any of that right now. So I'm all the way out on the Celtics until further notice. I can't stand watching them right now.
I don't blame you. Tatum, I believe, has like size-wise and talent-wise, combined with his defensive ability, he's like the closest thing to Kevin Durant other than Kevin Durant. And he's just not, you're right, he's just not shown that yet. I think a lot of these are like just slumps to start the year. Like, some of these guys are just bound to dig themselves out of these holes. Like, there's no way he continues to shoot 27% from beyond the arc. But you're right, like, until we see it, and until we see some movement, we got to see some ball movement. Boston, let's get a little ball movement here. You know,
Jesus Christ, man,
never hurt to get a couple passes in before you get a shot up. You know, I'm sure Junior is a proponent of that. But if you've taught basketball at any level and at any time, you teach that working the ball around and maybe helping get an open shot also wears down the defense. It's amazing how that works. But
I'm going to tell you something funny, and then we'll move on because I know we're running out of time. I always tell my kids, listen, if you play as hard as you can and you give me effort defensively, I don't care what shots you take. So what inevitably happens is one of them will take a ridiculous shot, and I'll call them over and be like, you know when I said I don't care what shots you take? I mean, I don't care what shots you take if I know that you can make it. I've never seen you make the shot you just take, ever. Not in practice, not anywhere. So what are you doing? Like, I'm not saying the Celtics have that problem because these guys are professionals, but I will say this. At some point, their new head coach has got to go to Tatum and be like, hey, bruh, you're big. You have a size advantage over like 95% of the guys that defend you.
Take the ball.
You just cut down some of those threes a little bit, get in the post, and just try to work one-on-one. Get to the free throw line. Like, you're averaging more threes than free throw attempts at your size with your skills. He's like a cross between Kevin Garnett and Carmelo Anthony with the skill set that he has, and he'd rather be out there jacking up. This guy's taking 5 free throws a game and 9 threes a game. Absurd.
And he used to work corner to corner like all the time in early part of his career. I don't know why that. I don't know if it's like someone's telling him to like don't take as many mid-range shots, but I'm like, he was one of those guys that like within 15 feet he'd get in there. I'd be like, that's pretty high percentage shot for him. I don't know why he's kind of gotten away from that a little bit. I don't know if he's hurt, just can't tell. I don't know if his confidence has gone away. I don't know if he's out of shape. That's usually what it is. And that also could be it. But it's usually like guys are out of shape. It's like Embiid, for instance, perfect example. Guy who just jacks up way too many threes at the beginning of the year because he's not in shape, and then slowly like works himself into shape, and it's gets his big butt down on the post. We got to move on. We're running out of time. Nuggets Grizz. I wrote this up for BMR. You can go ahead to the bookmakersreview.com to check this one out. I'll be quick. Can Denver slow down Ja Morant? Probably not. The problem is Who else has been there for the Grizz right now when they don't? Dylan Brooks is usually that guy that kind of like, if they don't have a second scoring option, that dude has unnecessarily high confidence and is gonna score. That dude's shooting, but he's not there right now. So you got Jaren Jackson Jr., who for the love of God cannot stay out of foul trouble. I cannot stand watching this guy play basketball when he gets foul happy. This is like literally the one thing that's keeping him from being a perennial all-star. Is you can't stay on the floor. If you can't count for your second best player to be on the floor for 30 minutes a game, I don't know what you're doing, Memphis, because Ja can't average 38 points per game like all season. They're going to start doubling him. They're going to start like forcing the ball out of his hand, especially without Brooks. Like that's what kind of scares me with long. I think he's going to be back in a week or two, but still, this team's defense has been terrible. And Dylan Brooks being back isn't going to help that. You know where they've been really bad is first quarters. You got basically the complete opposite end of the spectrum here for these two teams. The Grizzlies are giving up 126 points per 100 possessions in the first quarter through 6 games. You have Denver, who's giving up only 97. And a minus 30 net rating in the first quarter is not going to get it done for this team. So you got Denver, who's coming in here with 2 games in a row. This is the first of 2 games in Memphis between these two teams. You got one tonight, you got one Wednesday. If I'm Denver, I'm looking at these guys and saying, forget Ja. Like, he's going to go for 40 regardless of what we do tonight. Let's just stop everybody else. We're going to win this game easily, right? Who else scares this defense for Denver, especially because they're much bigger. They're just as athletic. They got just as many shooters. They got just as many guys that they can throw at Ja. Like, Will Barton's going to get, and Monty Morris is probably going to have a lot of turns on him tonight. But other than that, their main scoring options are from the forward and center position, and Memphis is just chronically undersized right now against some of these teams. This is just a really bad matchup for them. So I think first quarter wise, I got the money line here for Denver. I know the Grizzlies are coming off of getting blown out. I know that they're probably going to look at this game as a bounce back opportunity, but it's going to be very hard to bounce back against a team like the Denver Nuggets with the way their defense is playing. I know it's on the road. God, I know Denver's defense on the road is just I'm playing with fire a little bit here. But I think first quarter wise, half unit, full unit, whatever you feel comfortable in, I think the Nuggets are going to be ahead here in the first quarter. Their metrics have just been too good defensively, whereas the Grizzlies have just been very bad, and they can't seem to get out of the gate quickly. And I think that's going to hurt them against a team like the Nuggets tonight. I think the Grizzlies can win this game. That's why you see a very short line. I'm not messing with the full game line, but first quarter wise, I think the Nuggets are ahead here at the end of 12.
I'm gonna be super quick, Jordan. Nuggets money line.
Okay. I like it.
Will Barton has been putting clamps on people.
Mm-hmm.
Will Barton is not afraid of Ja Morant. I don't know that because I've never met Will Barton or spoken to him. But if you watch basketball and you look at Will Barton's entire demeanor, his just the way he goes. Now, I say that Will Barton's putting clamps on people because that's never really been the case in his career. He's not a great defensive player by any stretch. He kind of seems like he should be because of his physical makeup. But he's had a lot of lower body issues the last couple of years, like his ankles that are always wonky, and he always has these lower body issues. So that's obviously, if you're always having injuries to that part of your body, defense is going to be a problem. I think he takes these kind of matchups with guys like in Will Barton's mind, he's like, yeah, Ja Morant's nice, but so am I. And obviously that's, they're not on the same level. But again, belief is such a big part of the sport, of any sport, but especially this one, where it's a lot of mano-y-mano. I think Campazzo is going to get under Ja Morant's skin a lot. He's going to be dirty. He's going to use all them Euro, South American, Argentinian tricks. I watch soccer. I know them tricks, bro. You ever? I keep talking about this clip. There's a clip when Campazzo was playing in Europe in the Champions League where some guy tried him on a screen. He tried to go high and put his forearm in Campazzo's leg, and Campazzo picked this dude up and body slammed him onto the ground, pile drived him. Look like he murdered him. He's not gonna do that to Ja Morant unless he wants to be kicked out of the league. But he ain't gonna let Ja Morant physically dominate him, is what I'm trying to say. So, also, newsflash to anyone not paying attention: the Grizzlies' defense is garbage right now.
No, it's terrible.
It's absolutely terrible. So I think Denver's a better team, and I'm getting them plus points. I'm not even taking Denver money line, ho. That's what I'm picking.
There's so many dogs that are barking here today. I can't even help. By the way, real quick, Will Barton's he's not going home tonight, but the man played at University of Memphis. He's going to be up for this game. There's absolutely no way that Will Barton comes in flat tonight. That dude is coming in geared up and ready to throw everything in his bag against Ja Morant defensively tonight. And you're right. And when he gets tired, they got 2 or 3 other guys that they can throw at him too. I mean, like, and as I said, it doesn't really matter if Ja goes off tonight. All they got to do is stop everybody else. I think they win this game. So you're right. I'm leaning that direction. I hate to fade the Grizz, man, but it's tough. That you're right. Their defense is just trash right now, and they're kind of a one-man band unless Jaren Jackson hits about 6 threes tonight. I don't know how else they stay in this game.
Yeah, no. Let's recap our picks real quick because we've definitely gone a little bit too long. I'll go first. I've got, Denver money line, as I just said. I really think they are a live dog. Anytime I can get points with the better team, in my opinion, I'm taking that all day, all night. I've got the under 223.5 in the Washington-Atlanta game. I think Atlanta comes to play, a little revenge game spot for them. And if that game goes over, it's probably not going to go in their favor. And then finally, I think I'm getting a cheap price against the 76ers. I know the public is going to love Portland because they're just going to be like, oh, Damian Lillard is the best player on the floor because Joel Embiid's not in. So that's the obvious pick. Do that if you want to. 76ers are a fantastic home team. They're so much different at home than they're on the road. They've shown in the recent past that they can win without Embiid and Simmons. Obviously, they're not nearly as good, but they're the best offense in the league right now with Embiid playing at like 60% of his potential. So I'm rolling with the Sixers. What you got, Jay?
Love that underplay in Washington, Atlanta. I am right there with you as one of my officials today. I think I said that was probably my top pick of the day. I really like that one today. Got that one 223.5. Got under 217.5 in Chicago and Boston. That spread's kind of been flipping around too. I just noticed that it's back to 2.5. And then got a little bit on Denver first quarter money line. It sounds like my guy Junior also on the full game here for this one, so that makes me feel good about this. And man, I'm telling you, the dogs are looking pretty good here. I know that Charlotte's been taking some steam here, but now Cleveland's kind of come back down. You're seeing Toronto potentially take a little bit. You're seeing Orlando a half point now down from 9. Some dogs are going to be, it's Oklahoma City. I wasn't man enough to do it today. I wanted to really bad, everybody. I'm sorry to let you down. No Oklahoma City Thunder plus the points tonight for me, although definitely lean that way. Because what is this, two one-win teams going against each other? Anyways, we got to get out of here. That's been it for us. Junior, my guy, send us off.
Please like, share, subscribe. Make sure you check out bookmakerreview.com. Jordan's mentioned he's got articles up there. I wrote one this morning. All of our cappers always give you the best advice so that you can milk these goddamn bookies, because that's what we're here for. Same time tomorrow. Thank you for joining. We really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, guys.
Let's go Wizards. Elite defense tonight.
Yeah.